supposedly Cavus was helping look into what was happening at Falstock. She didn't say anything about meeting him there necessarily, but if you guys give word that you're about to be teleporting over, they may be able to also send word in advance to whomever might be there to meet you and go over this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Sounds good.
I have a really quick question. What was the young girl's name that we saved? It was like Sarah.
Does anyone remember?
But it wasn't that.
I know it's in my notes, but I don't have my notes on me.
Oh my god.
Sorry,
I'm
ruining
looking.
everything.
No, it's
Sophia.
Sarah, Sophia, same thing. I gotta quietly, because I know that's kind of the whole point, to Tessian, like, say, Tessian, how do you think Sophia's doing? I know I thought about writing out to her, but I know we were trying to avoid that, risk drawing unnecessary attention to her and the Countess.
I think the Countess will do everything in her power to take care of her. I think she's in good hands, and we should refrain from getting her involved in all this, at least until the trial's over. I mean, there's merit to bringing her to the trial, but it's not that she really saw anything that could implicate your father directly. So I think we should keep quiet about her presence until your father is safely locked away.
Yeah, I know. I kind of asked because I was fishing for you to tell me that we should see how she's doing, and I also was kind of wanting you to talk me off the ledge, so I just worry about her.
I've no problem with checking in on the girl, but we should make sure your father is put away first before we leave any kind of trail of breadcrumbs leading back to her.
Well, actually, you bring up a good point, though, and I agree with you on the account of Sophia, but should we be gathering witnesses or something? Or do you think we should just leave it in the justice system's hands?
I would have thought the Empress would have made such requests of us if she needed them. If they didn't have the evidence they felt they needed. I'll admit my expertise is in a more diplomatic sense, not legal when it comes to these sort of things. I have other things to attend to.
Again, just to go back to it, I kind of think it would be a waste of time. I can't shake this feeling that there's a lot more going on. Not to say he's innocent or isn't, shouldn't face some kind of consequences. I don't see this being how this ends, but...
Well, that's what this Falstock thing is, isn't it? We're here to assist her and them with investigating the ties between Thorogood and your father.
Possibly. I think that is the intent, yes. I will say for me personally, sure, if we find something that's great, but I'm really just itching to get back to Falstock and give Whitworth Thorogood what's coming to him.
Well, then I suggest you eat up, and we head out as soon as possible.
Well, do you say anything about your vision at this time?
Oh, yes. I think I will bring it up. I'll ask Tessian to pull up a map if he doesn't mind.
I've got a bunch of maps.
He has,
Ley
he
lines on
has
them.
several maps now.
Yay!
What's the map for?
Well, and I'm going to kind of explain that in my vision. It seems I'm getting pulled towards the northeast, but it feels far, almost as if it's not on this continent.
You got a vision of where the next Conatus shrine is?
Yes.
I buried the lead on that one a little bit, Miss Lena.
Sorry.
Well, that's great news.
Yes. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I'm assuming it's up here, but I just know very little about the geography.
Things are really coming together for us. Look, if this was dinner, I would buy us all a round of drinks. Wow. We have the investigation, we have the trial, and then the next leg of the Conatus. It's really coming together for the Order.
Well, when we get around to it, and Tessian will point out that there are kind of two settlements there's Fort Cross and Frosthaven, and you sort of are supposed to take. They're set across from each other so that you go from one continent to the other.
Are we going to need
Sort
a
of,
boat?
I believe we can charter transportation between the two.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, well, great. I'm going to slam my toast. Feeling good.
For some reason, I just imagine you literally just like slapping it, but not the table, your toast. You're just like, yeah, oh, butter.
Jam is everywhere.
And you get thrown out of the establishment. We do not allow toast slapping in this establishment. This is a nice place. And Tessian, you know that Fort Cross is probably a day's journey from Winchester by horse/wagon/whatever. Not terribly far, but pretty far. It's about double the distance it was to go out of the city to that senior living community where that nice old couple had been murdered.
Yeah.
It's about twice as far as that, and that took you a few hours. So it'll take the better part of a day to head to Fort Cross, and then you have to go to Frosthaven, and then etc. So could be doable in this window you have before the trial. It's sort of up to how the group wants to approach it. Wouldn't be cutting it that close as long as you made it a priority the next few days.
I say we, before we go embarking on this next bit, let's see what they need us in Falstock.
Agreed.
So, breakfast behind you, delicious, nutritious. No rabbits this morning. No rabbit stew for breakfast. That's not on the menu. It's a specialty, but it's not silly. Let's not be ridiculous. You guys eventually finish up your breakfast, pack up the things you need for your trip, lock your guys' rooms for the time being, bring the keys with you, and start heading back to A Barrow Castle. Yes. Secure the key by eating it. Very good. You have to make a check for that later. Make your way back to the castle inside the courtyard to that opening foyer where you can kind of check in with the front desk, announce your intent. That same individual that you first met, Tessian, when you came over, Shaw de Harcourt, is the one at the desk this morning, and kind of greets you as you come in. He says, "Ah, yes, the young Mr. Black. How are you today?"
Doing quite well, Mr. Harcourt. We're here to take up the Empress's offer to assist the investigation in Falstock, and we were hoping we could use the teleportation facilities.
Gives you a nod. He says, "Very well. They were expecting you might be a couple more days yet, but we can make arrangements easily enough. If you could just wait here for just a few minutes."
No problem.
And he shuffles off towards the back. You can kind of see him whispering to somebody in the background, one of the guards. He shuffles off and heads towards the direction of, well, the hallway went several different directions, but towards back where you met the Empress and where the teleportation circles are. Couple minutes pass, and eventually that same person comes back, whispers something to Shaw. He comes over and he says, "Okay, very well. You guys have been granted permission, and if you need anything else, just let us know."
Thank you. We appreciate it. And we shall go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At this point, you'll notice that for the first time, for the most part, I mean, you kind of were running about in a frenzy looking for Grail without an escort, but this is the first time you've been here on formal business, and yet no one, either of the Cabal or just the regular guardsmen, has been accompanying you. It seems like you may not have free reign of the castle. There might be some areas where you're not allowed to go, but as far as just wandering about, you at least have the reputation where not a big deal. No one's keeping an eye on you. No one's making sure you're up to no good. Looks like that bar brawl is behind you as far as what's on your record, or maybe the word has just spread that it was all a farce. Eventually, you guys make your way through the meandering hallways back to this whole teleportation hub, and this time, instead of going to the almost familiar one now for Timberbrook, you look around and find the one that's labeled for Falstock instead. And I'm assuming you would like to head inside and make your way through.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
Isaac seems a little tense. Game face is on, not making a lot of quips or jokes, just pretty focused in. It's not hard for you to figure out why. He's kind of said as much, but that is his countenance right now.
I'll put my hand on your shoulder. I won't say
pull
anything.
my gun and no.
Blow my head off. Oh my god. But I won't say anything. I'll just give you a nod if you look at me, but if not, I'll just kind of pat your shoulder and that's it.
You're right, Karash. We should celebrate the little victories. Oh no. There is another member of the Alabaster Cabal waiting there for you to activate the teleportation circle. It seems like here, unlike some other places, because it provides access into the interior, not the very interior of Abarrow Castle, but still inside and closer to the Empress than they might like, that none of these teleportation circles go unattended. There are certainly some, and you've been through a couple of them, that you can just kind of step on and it's not a big deal. In some cases, depending on where they're located, for example, the Duchess's in Harnstead, since it's in her private residence, it was kind of different. They would expect nobody to be able to get in there without having it cleared by her. But in this case, on each side of this, on the receiving end, you've now seen on two of them that an Alabaster Cabal member just keeping an eye on things, making sure no undesirables come through. Everything's A-okay. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I hate it. I just small aside. I hate it when undesirables come bursting through my teleporters.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I spent all the time and money setting that thing up, and they come in there with just their grody-ness and their unwantedness.
Basket of deplorables.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. It's just.
And where are the desirables?
They don't bring their best people, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's just.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you were man in a teleportation circle and a desirable came through? You're like, oh, this is a hot girl who's into me. Cool.
Exactly.
That never happens.
Exactly. Never. Bunch of bad hombres.
Heading to Falstock then?
Yes, please.
Yes.
And with that,
So, you guys step on a teleportation circle. Familiar sick feeling. Eyes swim momentarily. When your vision returns to you, you find yourself in a room with nothing else in it. It's lit. It looks like there's no like decorations, there's no seating, there's no furniture. There's just a teleportation glyph on the ground. There is nobody else in the room as you teleport into it and get your bearings as you kind of look around and see where you're at. At the very least, I mean, there's a door. You can get out of the room, but you don't recognize where you are just yet.
Did they give us an idea of where we're headed, though? Like, you're going to come out in this area of town or in this building?
No.
Oh, okay.
They would have if you'd asked.
We were just so gung-ho.
We'll just take the door. Exit.
Okay. When you guys open the door, it's new to a couple of you, but a couple of you pick up on it pretty quickly. At this particular time in the morning, there is plenty of sunshine coming through the glass high ceiling of this particular building. Karash, you and Lena both recognize this as the Solarium, the Temple to Palor.
Oh.
In Falstock.
Oh.
And there is one of the nursing students, as it were, one of the people that you sort of helped the last time you were here, who's sort of keeping watch by the exterior of this door. Just, I think, he looks like he's not really keeping guard per se, but he's just sort of posted there to make sure nobody kind of wanders in. You also know that there's a Cabalman waiting on the other side, if anybody does happen to step through who's not supposed to be, who would... You haven't really tested the Alabaster Cabal yet, but you know they're supposed to be renowned magicians. So they might not be well served by having somebody just wander through.
Man, ever since the network dropped Karash's pilot for Karash MD, I forgot about this place.
I've done it a couple times since then.
Yeah, there was a second pilot. Where he...
Second pilot.
Yeah.
First pilot didn't work.
Didn't
Network
work.
dropped it. We're going to try again.
We're not going to pitch the
I'm
same
pretty
pilot.
sure I've stabilized one or two people after chopping off a limb or attempting to.
Yeah, that was also part of the pilot, and it's part of why it didn't test well with demographics. They didn't like the chopping off and healing. They're like, that seems very unnecessary. But yeah, this is the Solarium, and Karash, you're the most familiar with this, but Lena, you were also here. It's where you had your first seizure and then had a vision.
That's right. Yes, I have fond memories of
Fond
this place.
memories.
Full circle.
Yeah. But there's a nice, you're basically in the main area now, and you can see the sunlight streaming in, and the familiar fountain in the center of the area, and a few different people in light robes kind of just wandering about. Crash, from the past, there was the side rooms where their patients were kept, etc. But it looks like the teleportation circle in Falstock happens to be inside the temple.
It's a beautiful place, must say.
It is. I remember this place from the last time we were here.
Oh, that's right. You and Lena on your side adventure.
Yes, we did come here. This is also where I had my first vision of the Conatus.
Well then, full circle.
Indeed.
So you know where we are then. What's the best way to Thoroughgood's place from here? Is that where we're headed? Thoroughgood's place? Did they tell us? Like where we're supposed to meet anyone? I'm assuming that, but
I thought they did, but I
this
think it
is
was
a
a while
botched
ago.
operation.
Just
Why don't we ask questions before we do
immediately
this?
start running outside, run towards Thurgood's Manor. I'm gonna kick his ass.
We need to go to where the Crusaders are in town, which was, I don't know. I assume they have like a house or something, a station.
Oh God.
Let's pull the nearest rando aside and be like, "You, sir, where are the Crusaders?" We could ask the priest here.
Good.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
contacts at the general goods store. You have contacts at the
We can just find
Gilded
Father
Ale
Orman.
House.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Karash and Lena, do you know some? Did you make any contacts here? Maybe they'll know where the Crusaders are located.
I think we did, right?
You did.
Yeah,
Okay.
Father Orman,
Yes.
Yeah.
Father Orman.
priest of Palor. If there's a priest nearby, then,
Yeah,
or a nurse in training, whatever.
essentially, yeah, a youth in
Do
training.
I recognize him as one of the ones I worked with?
Not especially. No,
just
not
no,
after.
okay.
Not after like 2 weeks and having a bunch of them flailing about while you did your best to attend to the sick.
Fair enough. All right, I pardon me.
Yes.
It is Father Orman in.
Of course. Yeah. I'll go get him. He seems a bit flustered, partially because you're a dragonborn, and partially because you came through a door people don't often come through.
Super racist.
He's like,
Super
I don't-
racist.
I don't remember you coming in the building, but
Yeah.
now you're coming out. It's a little weird.
Yeah, your group does look a little different than the rank and file who come in here on a daily basis. He stammers a bit and then heads off into one of the side rooms, and eventually a couple moments pass, and familiar elderly halfling in flowing yellow robes approaches you, and it is indeed Father Orman. He says, "Ah, Karash, it is good to see you again."
It's good to see you as well, Father. I am curious, do you know where the Crusaders are in town? We have come to speak with them.
He thinks for a moment. He kind of strokes his beard. He says, "Well, they don't have a base here, but we do see them come through on occasion. Sometimes they stay at the Gilded Ale House. Sometimes they stop by just passing through. I did see one of their rank in here yesterday. Happened to mention a group that sounded a lot like at least a couple of your members, yourself included. I mean no offense, but you do sort of stand out." Inquired about what... he basically asked that I give you word when you arrived, so it's fortuitous that you are here.
Oh, what word then did he have for us?
And he kind of leans in just a little bit, and you can see he's not very good at covert ops necessarily, but he realizes this is a thing of great importance, and he says, "You should head to the Gilded Ale House. Supposedly you know someone there, and if you get in contact with her, she can let him know that you're here."
Thank you, Father. Before we go, have you heard of any strange illnesses or sicknesses coming through town that are inexplicably really, Mike? Okay.
I was like, damn,
Yeah,
Crash.
Whoa.
Always flexing on him.
I'm a great teacher.
Just been raiding your dictionary and just finding just words that he likes.
I like imagine him saying inexplicably and then like snapping by his ear to make sure he's awake. Like, what happened?
Did I have a seizure? I blacked out. It's rather difficult to treat.
He thinks for a moment. He says, I can't say we do. We've had some folks in here who've needed some help in the past few days, but usual sickness and colds and the like, nothing that seemed out of the ordinary, no.
There is something we dealt with. Oh my god, what city were we in? Was that Lycidian?
Winchester.
Wait, there was a disease in Winchester that was, as we discovered, magic in nature and very difficult to deal with. If you come across anything like that, please get word there to what the lady's name is, whose name I've now forgotten as well. Winchester.
So it was Glen Cogo where you saw this.
Oh, it was Glen Cogo?
Near Timberbrook. And the woman's name is Lorraine de Grey.
Lorraine de Grey.
Well, I guess her sister was the one who was with the healing group, if that's what you're looking for.
I don't have my glasses.
That was
on,
Lunaire
sister.
de Grey.
Lunaire de Grey. Karash is not wearing his bifocals.
Karash has
It's not
remembered
going
inexplicably, but has inexplicably forgotten people from a week and a half ago.
Shh. I meet a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people.
That's true. You're very charismatic. It's high on your list. Yeah, you can tell him about Glen Cogo and Lunaire de Grey.
Yeah, I will give him the short of it and suggest that he pass on any information if he hears anything or has any ideas. That's all I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shake his hand and tell him if I can't have time, I'll stop by to help out if I can before I take off.
He shakes your hand back with a firmness, not like hand clasping pain, just kind of like a fervent handshake. He seems to be quite fond of you and the work you've done here. He says, well, we'll keep an eye out. I'm glad we haven't seen anything that sounds that bizarre, but if we do, I'll certainly send word to who you've mentioned, and we would always appreciate your help, but don't let it be a burden. Whatever you do, just be careful, and may you walk in the light of the Shining One.
Thank you, Father, and may Cord protect you, or whatever it is Cord does.
And he gives you a nod. This is not a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays situation. You can wish each other good tidings from different gods, and it's not a problem. It's okay.
I assumed as much.
Yeah. There's many gods, and we don't expect everybody to worship Palor, though they would like it.
Though they should.
So, that tells you, Karash, and Lennon to a lesser extent, although Karash has been here a couple times, but that tells you that you're now in the southeastern part of Falstock. The Gilded Ale House is more towards the center of town. It's also not terribly far, maybe a 10-15 minute walk. Is that where you're headed?
Yes.
Yeah, let's get going.
As you guys are walking along, I need everybody to make a perception check. Just because I'm mandated by law to require at least one dice roll every hour.
Roll for
Not how we
10.
play D&D.
Oh,
it's pure improv the whole time.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
There's not even any D&D here. It's just
11.
10.
20 total.
20 and then a natural 20.
Yep.
Is that
Palor
less?
and Cord have smiled
Which-
upon you.
Yeah.
less
Which
than
is an
20?
actual 20. Which is he has
Straight
plus
20,
0
okay.
for a natural 20, yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice day in Falstock, and the last time you were here was certainly interesting. You sort of left in a bit of a rush after the somewhat unsuccessful attempt on Whitwer Thorogood and leaving his manor. But you had spent a couple of days here, and you had been in a variety of places across the city, and had spent time in the burlesque at one point, and Tessie and you kind of remember back to that, and you're like, oh, that was with Grail. Oh, the Emerald Wand is what it was called.
And we were admiring a drow woman there.
What about the Kitsune? Was that
No,
someone
I don't-
else?
That was Waychester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She had not been back to perform since Grail left. Is that a coincidence?
I want to kill that Kitsune.
She is a higher level than you,
Bullshit.
and if you guys had gotten to know her better, you would have found that the number of tails that she has actually corresponds to her magical ability, and she had 4.
Bullshit.
Anyway, some lore we never got to and probably won't ever because the person who was interested in her is gone.
She's
She's talking
fine.
about? That's my new character. Is this Kitsune now? That's
We'll talk about that. So you guys are kind of walking the streets, and all of you sort of notice it's similar to last time, but it's different. People are still not going out of their way to greet you or acknowledge you as you walk the streets, but they're not cowering from strangers. They're not averting their gaze. They're just kind of going about their day-to-day life. Again, they don't have the same friendliness you've encountered in a few other towns, especially like a Harnstead or something where people were especially gregarious. It's more just they're not quite as timid as they were when you were last here a couple of weeks ago. Tessian, you pick up on this even more so just because you do have an occasional glance in your direction, and instead of people looking away instantly, and you remember you were walking around the streets on your own for some time last time as you were selling the rouge you put on. They don't just like glance at you and then quickly look away. They kind of glance at you, look you over. They take in the group and then they go back to their business. They don't linger, but again, there's not this quick like, oh, I looked at somebody and I might give offense. It's more of a, oh, there's somebody here. Oh, well, that's what I'm doing. And Karash, as you guys are walking the streets, you pick up on just the faintest bit of conversation from a group that's further away from you. A couple of people talking off on kind of a side street in front of a house as you guys pass. And the gist of it is the two of them talk back and forth about how, while they're not exactly thrilled with life in the city, they haven't seen much of Whitwer or his men in the last couple of weeks since that incident.
That was us. We did a thing.
Interesting. God, did you hear that?
I hear what?
Yeah, what?
None of you are awake. I understand. I just overheard someone speak of the incident that happened a while back that caused Thorogood and his men to disappear somewhat from public viewing. The public eye did not seem like a good expression for me, so whatever. From being seen in public, I wonder if that was not us.
Oh, I'm sure it was. What did they say?
They said that they were not being seen in public as much. That's all I heard.
Did they seem happy about that, or upset?
I mean, they did not seem upset about it. It just seemed like okay with it. Like how do you say, grateful that they were not around as much.
The gist you got was that the reins had been loosened somewhat.
We've
Yes,
made a difference.
I will not say that because I do not know how the reins would be loosened is an expression that I would use.
I do not know how the public has one eye. There are many people in the public, and they all have eyes.
But we won't have confirmation that it was us and what we did until we figure more out about this. I think we should find the Crusaders and figure out what exactly it is they want us to investigate.
I mean, sure, in a legal sense, but it was us. You know it was us. I still think, yes, let's go find out more information, but this is a good sign.
I'm sure we can speak with Mina or Gothak, and they will tell us if the Crusaders cannot.
Things are just coming up Isaac today.
I I'm not convinced that it was us, to be honest. I'm not too sure what it is we did that would have scared him so much.
Attempted assassination plot? He's probably cowering under his in the mansion in the sewers of this place. Going to have to flush him out.
Let's stay out of the sewers. Last time I got very ill. Granted, I drank sewage, but
Yeah.
Isaac's just whistling.
I know you can't whistle, Sean, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
I had to teach myself. It took years. You guys make your way to a familiar area towards the center of town. A big 2-story wooden building that you guys frequented on a couple different days. Gold tile roof, and you also see as you're approaching it, coming from the southeast, just nearby the ale house, you on your trek towards it, you pass, coming from the east to the west, a familiar access point where you guys went into the sewers from, relatively close to the Golden Ale house, and it was also the one where you had the wagon and basically made your escape from once you concluded your business here the last time. And again, it just kind of triggers those memories of a time not that long ago, 2.5 weeks now at this point, but not. It feels like a lot longer, both just because a lot of things have happened and because it's been sort of tiring. But yeah, passing that, you then make your way to the ale house, and luckily for you, there is a familiar, slender, tall elf with heavily braided reddish-brown hair and really angular facial features, and Mina does appear to be at the front desk of the ale house, manning the bar, as you guys walk in.
Mina, good to see you again.
There is a moment where she looks up, and you can see the recognition, and there's a smile, and that smile fades. And she looks a little surprised. And she says, you just kind of pick up on it. It's obvious enough that you guys notice it. You're not sure if anybody else around would have, but it's not like it lasts long enough that it becomes apparent. You don't have to roll a check to see it. And then just as quickly the smile comes back, and she says, "Ah, yes, Tessian, it is good to see you as well. Your group is with you, and it seems someone is missing."
Yes, there have been complications on our journey. But perhaps something we could discuss in a more private setting. We're actually here on business for the Empress,
So
to be honest.
you're here to attend to that matter, then?
Whatever that matter is, yes.
She gives you kind of a knowing look. She says, "Well, let me send word then. If you will head to the room, I'll be with you momentarily."
Very well. We'll go in.
She goes back to...
Tessian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, Lena. That was just kind of awkward, wasn't it?
Yes, that was odd.
She was less than happy to see us.
I wonder if something else has happened here.
Yes. Maybe we made things worse.
No, that's impossible. With Whitwer out of the way, or at least in hiding, we, Falstock, the only direction they had to go was up.
I hate to burst your bubble, but did the bullet not go through his head? It's very possible that an attempted assassination attempt just made him even more angry, and who knows? I don't know. This concerns me.
I mean, there is merit to the idea of a cornered bobcat is the most dangerous kind, but come on, this is Whitwer Thorogood we're talking about. He's on his last legs.
I hope so.
You guys have made your way into the clandestine meeting room. Close the door, it's soundproof, etc. The old environs.
I'm explaining to Karash that when something's on its last legs, it doesn't mean physically its legs. It means that it's close to being toppling over. Like if a horse lost 2 of its legs, it might fall over. That sort of thing.
That's why we just. Oh.
It's a terrible thing, but the analogy still holds up. You know, never do that to a horse.
We don't eat horses, correct?
No, we do not know.
Then why would you remove legs from the horse? I don't.
It's for the expression, Karash. It's for the expression.
But you don't. It seems
In
very
war, sometimes things happen. There are many blades swinging left and right, especially with mounted cavalry. It has been known to happen.
We have already butchered this analogy far too much.
Frankly, we're beating a dead horse.
You beat me to it.
I just rub my head.
That's disadvantage on the next saving throw.
Why are there so many horse analogies? This is a bit odd.
They don't even look like they taste good. I don't understand.
You know what? This
do
is my
not
fault. I just need to stop using metaphors. But to my credit, I would think Karash at some point, it's been 3 weeks now, I thought he would start to pick up on not everything has to be literal.
But then it don't make sense.
Well, we'll get there eventually, Karash.
You guys have this conversation for about 10 minutes. And
Agonizing.
and the day is gone. And
It's not literal!
the trial is one day closer now.